Welcome, everyone, to the Microsoft 365 Power Platform Community Call for May 2022. Today is May 18th. We look forward to an exciting community call today. My name is David Warner. I am the Community Program Manager for Power Apps. Let's talk about our agenda for today. We're going to get the latest updates and news on Power Platform. We're going to have a group picture time together. Everybody loves the together mode, so we're going to look at that. And then we're going to see our all-stars of the day. Renee Madre is going to cover how to automatically generate technical documentation of your Power Apps and Power Automate flows. Heidi Jordan is going to cover Streamline Annual Document Reviews with Power Apps. And then Amber Weiss is going to talk to us about Power Platform plus Microsoft Teams, how to create a back-channel internal chat for any meeting. Now, if you weren't here last month, just wanted to recover some of the format changes we're going to be making moving forward. In the first 15 minutes, we're going to have community updates, and then we're going to have 3 demos of 15 minutes apiece. Now, you may say, why are we cutting it up into 4 equal quarters like this? Well, it makes it nice and consistent for those in the community. If you want to get the updates, then you can rely on pretty much for the most part, the first 15 minutes will be covering those updates. If you're good on updates, but you want to tune in for the demos, then you know to tune in 15 minutes after, and you're going to be able to catch all of the amazing demos by our community presenters. So it really provides consistency. 3 demo spots provides more opportunity for anyone and everyone in the community that would like to present, and it ensures that everyone has an opportunity and can rely on the format in terms of timing. Speaking of presenting, if you would like to present, we are open for anyone and everyone that would like to present. We have now, as you can see, the Power Platform community call, so it is very inclusive and a wider spectrum than just focusing on Power Apps. Everyone is welcome to present on this call, and we want to ensure that you're all empowered to do so. So with that in mind, we have made it easy. We've set up a form for you to go fill out. You just provide your information, what you'd like to present on, your contact info, and we'll get back to you and get them scheduled. We've seen an amazing influx of requests, and so bear with us as we go through that. We really are so encouraged by all of the submissions that have come in. Really great topics, really great demos that are going to be presented, and we're going to get to each and every single one of you in turn. So don't hesitate to fill that out. We absolutely would love to see what you would like to share and show with the community. So thank you for those that have, and we encourage those who have not to submit. And also, there's an opportunity for you to buddy up. So if you have never presented on the call before or presented on any call and you're a little nervous about it, don't hesitate. Don't let that stop you. We absolutely welcome you. And in fact, just put in the notes that you would like to be buddied up with another MVP or member of the Microsoft team, and we will buddy you up. It will absolutely be a fantastic opportunity for you to collaborate with others and get that first presentation under your belt. We would love to assist with that. Now, what are some things that you could present on? What are some opportunities? Well, we have Power Platform samples, and I'm going to hand it over to April Dunham to tell us more about that.
Thanks, David. Yeah, so if you go to aka.ms/powerplatform-samples, you'll see our sample repository for all kinds of different Power Platform solutions. So whether you have a cool Canvas app that you built that you want to share, or maybe it's a Power Automate workflow, Power BI dashboard, PVA, custom functions, anything Power Platform, you name it, we have a spot for it here on the samples repo. It's a really great way to increase visibility of the cool solutions that you're building, and also, sharing is caring. So sharing it out with other people to help them get started with the Power Platform as well. And all of these samples surface up into the adoption.microsoft.com site as well to just increase the visibility and the discoverability of the cool samples that you all are creating. So make sure to check it out, get your sample submitted. And if you don't know how to get started, with GitHub, maybe you've never used it before, we even offer sharing is caring sessions to help get you ramped up to submitting your first pull request so they can get these samples submitted. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, April. And just to highlight what April had mentioned about the adoption.microsoft.com surfacing, that is a unified sample gallery, which it incorporates all of Microsoft 365, which the Power Platform is part of. Now, what's cool is as you submit to that, you get your own profile page that you can actually share out that shows all your dedicated samples that you've created, and it's powered by GitHub, living at adoption.microsoft.com. So it really lends credibility to the amazing work that you're doing, and it allows us to celebrate you in a way unlike any others. Now, if you don't know, we want to help you know. As April had mentioned, we have a Sharing is Caring program. This Sharing is Caring program is unique to our community because unlike other communities that really just focus on only blogs, only videos, we're actually going to walk you through hands-on how to accomplish a variety of topics. One of which is how to submit samples to that repository via GitHub. So if you've never used GitHub and terms like pull request and fork and blame and raw are weird, which they are, we're going to show you how to navigate those waters, how to traverse that landscape, and we'll walk you through it live together in a session. And guess what? It's a safe space. No recording of those sessions, so you can ask any and all questions you want. I know that when I first started, I was fearful, and it was a little uncomfortable trying to understand some of that. Never had someone to go to and ask, so took the chances. This is an opportunity that we want to encourage all of you. So Power Platform Samples Contributor is one that's coming up on May 31st. We encourage you to sign up for that. And we have a number of other topics as well. So one of the newest is writing for the web. If you'd like to get more involved with writing, you can write documentation about the Power Platform that can actually live at docs.microsoft.com. So it is a very cool opportunity, a lot of opportunities here for you to get involved, and we want to help you. So don't hesitate to take advantage of that. We would love to walk you through in all these areas. So sign up at aka.ms/sharing is caring. And once you have, we want to celebrate you. The recognition program has been set up in a way that is formally and officially partnering with Credly. You say, Credly sounds familiar. Yes, that is a familiar Credly, because if you've gotten any certifications, you have a Credly badge. And now you can have a community badge. These badges are official, accredited. They will sit right next to your community badges and, your certificate badges. You can associate them in add them to your LinkedIn profile. You can share them on Twitter, put them on your website. Having come from a consulting background, I understand how important it is to show your managers and your clients that you're making a difference in the industry, in the community. This is a way for you to do that in a formal and official way, and we are coming up with all kinds of new opportunities. We've got a huge initiative on this that's going to be taking place to add even more badges and ways for you to get involved and to show your involvement in the community. So we do need you to opt in, aka.ms/m365pnp-recognition. It is absolutely free. You only need to opt in once, and we'll track you perpetually, going on and on and on. So we look forward to sending out some badges today, in fact, for our community call presenters. So don't hesitate to sign up. There is absolutely no cost. All right, let's take a look at some upcoming community events. Power Addicts Hangout is always available. It is an addiction, you might say, in a good way. We are poweraddicts.com. And we've got the upcoming Power Platform Conference. Now, there's a lot of excitement around this conference, and there's a lot of questions as well. Just by the way, the call for speakers on this has been extended one more week till Monday. So if you are wanting to submit, you still have time, and you haven't yet, you still have time that you can do that. I put the link there in the chat. It is aka.ms/ppc-cfs. And we're also going to be releasing a little video that describes some of the aspects that are unique to this particular conference. And there's also been questions around the compensation for the speakers. I just want to take a brief moment and mention that. Really, we're looking for a combination of 2 hours of content. So there are 25-minute session opportunities. There are 60-minute session opportunities. The compensation is based on a conglomerate of 2 full hours. So it could be 4 25 minutes, it could be a 60-minute and 2 25-minute. I know there's been some confusion, and we're trying to tidy that up there on that Session Ice site. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or April Dunham, and we can get those questions answered. The Low Code Revolution is a show that is hosted by April Dunham. So we invite everyone to take a look at that. Some really fantastic stories and insights from industry experts. A really great profile on the Power Platform. So do not hesitate. It's a great show. April rocks it out in a way like we love her for. So take advantage of learning more about that. And then, of course, we're just a few weeks away from the Scottish Summit. So really exciting. I know a lot of folks are going to be going to that and attending that. So wanted to provide some exposure on that. So what are some of the recent news? Well, there is general availability, model-driven in-app notifications, aka.ms/PA model notifications will take you to learn more about that. This happened a couple of weeks ago, just right after the last community call. So definitely take a look at that AKA to learn more. And then who doesn't like a discount, right? We all like discounts. We want to get our coupons on. Half off Power Apps. This was just announced recently. Save 50% on the Power Apps per user plan. There is some stipulations, but you can learn more at aka.ms/power per user promo. So we invite everyone to dig into there, learn a little bit more about how that promotion is working. What time is it? Woo! It's optional picture time. So if you would like to share your camera and have that be part of what's going to be shared out in the community on Twitter and on the blog post, we encourage you to do that. I'm going to share my screen here to show that together mode. Let's move that over there. All right, got a few seats left open, I think, but why don't we start wave into the community, let everybody know how awesome you are. Woo! Looking great. Wave to the community. Looks great to see so much diversity and everybody's happy. Awesome. That looks absolutely fantastic. Great to see everybody. Excellent. All right. Well, now let's hand it over to Todd to introduce our Rockstar Presenters of the day.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. So this is exciting today. We have all kinds of different things on the call today and a wide variety of different business problems that are being solved with them. So first up today, we have Renee joining us. And what I think is really cool about this solution here is this is an open source tool that Renee has created here. And when you see what it does, I think you're going to be very impressed and be running out to try it out for yourself. I know this has been always a gap, and when we try to hand off things we develop to our clients, and many of you are in a consulting background too. So I think everyone's really going to enjoy this demo by Renee here. Renee, thank you for joining us today.
All right, so I'm also just going to quickly start sharing my screen. Here we go. Great. So I want to talk a bit about a tool that I developed to generate some technical documentation of your Power Apps and Power Automate flows. So my name is René Modry. I'm actually an Office 365 or Office Apps and Service MVP since 2012, mostly working with Office 365, but to a good amount over the past few years then with the Power Platform, and that was growing a lot more. So right now I'm actually the Power Platform technically the WPP, which means then that obviously I've been working with Power Apps and Power Automate relatively much, obviously, and one of those things that I've been looking at both from a professional point of view, but also from a personal point of view, because I developed obviously my own small helper apps and helper flows for smaller stuff. One of those things I looked at was how can I actually document what I've been doing? Because documentation is something that we've always been, well, everybody is usually struggling with. It's nice to build some awesome stuff. You build a nice new app, a great flow, etc. But when it comes to documenting it, nobody's really excited about doing it. So a lot of times then you build something and then maybe you document it, but then you make some updates and you might just get lazy because those changes you don't want to take care of putting that into another document, etc. And basically, when we talk about documentation, it also means then that there are a couple of different components that should go into a documentation. I mean, from a professional point of view, you would need something like what's overall the project scope, what goes into that, what you're actually trying to achieve, the business scenario, the use cases. You're talking about then from a technical point of view about the system architecture that you overall have, including any other systems. Maybe you're connecting to some databases, maybe to some other third-party systems. Maybe you require a lot of different accounts. All those kind of things that you obviously ideally want to document. Lastly, you've also got the deployment process and some technical details. And technical details really meaning whatever you're doing directly here, for example, in Power Automate or Power Apps, then you might want to document that as well so that maybe you can hand it over to another team, like a support team or so. So when they, for example, try to figure out why is the app not working, they've got something to fall back on that they can refer to so they get a better understanding of how something is working. Because once you start looking at an app for the first time, obviously you might get overwhelmed with stuff. So my idea was basically I should actually develop something that could help me with that. My idea was a lot of the things that get or should be documented need to be done manually, but documenting an app, specifically Canvas apps or documenting flow should be something that should be possible automatically. So by running it through a tool, I should be able to get a in the end, the idea was to get a Word document that then can be used for me to refer back to again when I want to figure out, oh, which variables did I have in that app, where are they used, for example, or how many actions are in a flow, what was the structure of the flow, what am I doing in each step, etc., without having to go into the app or flow directly, but rather having that reference again. And yeah, that's basically what I then did. So I developed something. It's been around now for around half a year. Took some time to get it basically started, but was happy then to get something launched. And I think I'm just going to stop here with the slides and just going to switch over to my demo. So as mentioned, Todd just mentioned, it is obviously open source, so it's on GitHub. Anybody can just come in here, look at the code that I've been doing. Anybody is free to contribute to it as well. This is where you can then also download the latest releases. From February. I'm just preparing a newer one with some minor updates, but basically I'm going to use the February release to show you what it actually can do. The idea is then, for example, just jumping, for example, into a flow. Let's say you've got a flow here, and just looking at what we have here. Let's just have a quick look at this flow that I have here, just to show you what, how it looks like, what it can do. That's actually one of those default flows that's available out of the box, basically one of the templates. And all it does basically, it connects on a regular basis. I think, once per week, for example, connects to your calendar, gets a calendar view of events, and basically does some checks and does some stuff and sends emails. So roughly speaking, relatively straightforward. What I want to do now is I want to take this flow here and get it documented. So what I would have to do is simply say I want to export my flow, create a package, a zip file, and this is the one that I can then run through PowerDocu. Now, switching over to PowerDocu, so that's the thing that you can download then from GitHub. Let me just remembered something. What I usually do is I also can download the corresponding connector icon. So not just having the information around always using the Outlook connector and weather connector, but also using the icons. There's a small script that I can use then here to download the latest set of icons. So let's just finish that in the background. And let me just open here PowerDocu GUI. So that's a small Windows application that I can use to basically select an app, a flow, or a whole solution that I want to document. Optionally, I can also select a Word template if I have something. So from a corporate point of view, you usually want to maybe use then something branded according to whatever your corporate branding guidelines are. But if it's not selected, it will just create a blank document, which we'll just use here right now. So all I need to do is then I select my app or flow solution. Here are all the things that I exported before. So the full weather is basically the flow, the email me with a list of upcoming calendar events that I actually exported previously. So I'm just going to take this one, going to select open, and what PowerDocu does, basically it opens the file, it checks what's inside, it finds in this case, oh, there's actually a flow, and basically creates the corresponding documentation. So this is the documentation that gets generated, gets put into its own folder. So I've got here one flow doc, email with a list of upcoming calendar events. And in here, then I've got a couple of files. So yes, I also add the icons here, but more important, that's what we actually all want to see is, first of all, I've got here some, again, the flow charts of the flow. So if I take, for example, a detailed flow, open the SVG, we can see then, oh, that's actually just exactly that flow that we just looked at here. So really, again, something graphical that gets exported. So often when you want to, for example, take your flow, you might edit it, you want to take a screenshot. Oh yeah, I'm going to zoom out a lot, for example, to see it all because it's quite big when I extend it, etc. I'm simply doing something very similar here. And we can see also then the corresponding icons, if available, are also shown here, for example. So I can see here's the weather, the calendar, etc. So that's one thing. So I've got the available SVG file and the PNG file. But I've also got here my Word document, and that's the thing we want to have a quick look at. So the Word document then contains a documentation about the flow, including, for example, the overview of, again, for example, what I just generated here, but also some information. Let me just zoom out a bit about the connectors that are getting used. So in that case, we've got 3 connectors. The variables that are getting used, for example, so I can see, for example, there's the body to send variables, calendar events variable, etc. How they are initialized. So I can see body to send is empty, calendar events, okay, there's an object, there's a structure here, but also empty. And more important than also, I can see where those variables are used. So if I want to figure out a specific variable in a flow, where is it getting used? I could run it through PowerDocu and then basically get that information. Oh, in these actions, that's where I'm setting basically or updating or initializing this particular variable. So that's a very neat thing that can help you, especially when you've got a very large flow and want to figure out a specific variable, where is it in use? That's where I can figure it out. Lastly, then obviously I'm also documenting the trigger. When does the flow start? So all the technical details. We saw that's a recurrence kind of trigger in that case, and it's running once a week, plus all the actions. So the actions are sorted alphabetically. So again, basically document the name, the type, what kind of action is it, and then further details depending on obviously what's available as part of the action. So append to array variable, so we can see there's some details here. So if I look at it, I can figure out, okay, that's probably the variable, and I'm appending, for example, this part here, something like that. Let's check actually, for example, create HTML table. We can then see some other information here provided, plus also then, for example, if there's anything added here, it also provides me information about which action actually comes next as well. So just some general information, and yeah, you can see basically it tries to document it as much as possible. Often you also then get some very, obviously very, technical details in here. So if I go into the app and into the flow, and look directly in the flow, for example, what kind of calendar ID is it querying here? I would say probably in a nicer way, but at least basically I get all the details done in here as needed. Now that's for flows. Now for apps, I can do exactly the same thing. So ideas, same things. You take an app, doesn't matter which one, you export the package, and then you've got, again, something that you can run through PowerDocu. So I'm just going to take, for example, the Pony Math app, an app that I developed for my kids. And that was one of the reasons why I thought I should start documenting stuff again, because sometimes I need to update it. And after months of not doing anything with it, I obviously forgot most of what I did before. So taking this exported app here, I can then do the same thing. In that case, it discovers it actually contains an app in here. It creates the documentation as well again. And let me just jump back into this folder. We see again another generated folder. In this case, there are no flowcharts right now, but we've got two Word documents. So one that contains, you could say, an overview, plus one that is more detailed. And I'm just going to open the more detailed one. Even though it's larger, it contains basically a lot more information. So again, documenting it and what I can get about that app. So for example, some general app properties. So I can see, for example, phone type is, app type is for the phone. It's in landscape mode, those kind of things. I can also see some so-called preview flags. So for example, some of those preview functionalities, for example, delay load screens is set to true. So I know, for example, this was loading screens basically as required. More important than also moving on to variables and collections, similar to what we've seen just now with the flows, I also document then the variables that I can discover and the collections, and I'm also trying to document then where they are used as much as possible. That's a more of a tricky thing. So there may be instances where it's not getting discovered, but most of the time I can figure out where a specific variable is getting used. So you also have that easy overview. That's now also directly in the App Maker Studio directly, luckily, where I can see your variables and where they're used. But previously I tried to figure that out myself then here. Documenting also the data sources. So you can see then what kind of data sources are in use. So you can see there are two samples and two normal collections basically, and the resources that are in the app. So if there are any resources, either it's URLs, images, PDF, videos, I'm documenting them in here as well. Also adding the images as possible, if you can see. So then basically providing just some information about it, so we can just have some additional information here as required. Moving on, more important than obviously we want to see a list of the controls. So that's basically, again, imitating what we have in the Maker Studio. So I've got a list of the different screens, plus then the different controls located in that screen. So I can see in that coin screen, I've got some buttons, I've got galleries, some images, etc. And I've got some other screens here as well. Then now the detailed part is for each control that is in the app. So every single control, I also document then basically all the properties, and that's obviously in very detailed. So every single property that I know about that we can discover here is also documented in here as well. Sometimes that may be something that's, I don't know, potentially set to the default value right now, but other times then it might be something that we are, for example, I don't know, setting manually, or basically where we then define a specific value. That's also getting all in here. Plus, I'm also, for example, showing the colors here, making it a bit easier then, for example, to have an overview if I want to figure out, let me just zoom out a bit. Where do I use colors and what kind of colors? I can see here there's some instances of some pink and blue, etc. So that's all in there. Plus, let me zoom back in again. Basically, then that's all then in here. So really the idea is then every single thing gets documented, including then, so just looking for something like this here, for example, any function calls. That's obviously the important part. Sometimes you want to see where do I use a certain function. So if I want to figure out where do I do maybe a navigate, I could try to find it directly in here, and I can then see, okay, for example, on the onSelect for image 4, I'm doing a navigate plus everything else that I'm doing. Yeah, and that's basically what PowerDocu does. Separately, I could also run it against the whole solution. For example, here we can see the Power App Center of Excellence. I can now also run it against this whole thing here, which contains a couple of apps, a couple of flows, and we would document each and every single one of them accordingly then as well, just as we've seen so far. Yeah, and that's the idea. So if you want to test it out, just go to PowerDocu on GitHub, try it out. If you've got any feedback, questions, recommendations, just add your comments over there as well. Happy to always then make sure that things get better over time as well. Yeah, and that's the end of my demo, basically.
That's fantastic. For over a decade, I've seen you do awesome things one time after another on your blog, and it's cool to see you're still doing cool things with tech. Well done. Yeah. You're going to save all of us a ton of time. That's for sure. I've got a couple quick questions. A lot of people are asking if it works with the solution. As you mentioned, that does work. Yeah. If you do have a solution, did you mention that you're showing so many things? Did you mention if it has environment variables it documents as well?
No, not yet. It's one of the things I'm thinking of adding in a future release, but so far I didn't get to that point yet. So obviously for solution, I'm only documenting apps or Canvas apps and flows, nothing else yet. But definitely room for improvement there, and variables, environment variables are one of those things that are probably very high on my list to get added soonest.
Is action notes also one of the things on that list too?
Yeah,
that new commenting functionality.
The more I think about it, that list probably gets longer. There's a whole that can be documented, that could be or should be. Yeah.
What's your best practice if you rev a version of a solution? Do you just go regenerate the whole thing and throw away the old stuff it generated and use the new docs?
Yeah, depends. I mean, that's obviously, I'm not describing to anyone how to use it. From a personal point of view, whenever we create a new version of, for example, a new solution, I just regenerate it again and maybe keep the older artifacts just to make sure then that we've got it all together. But the idea is then you always got one working latest version with whatever is currently the latest version of your solution or app or flow.
That makes sense. Fantastic. Well, thanks again for sharing that. That wrapped up all the open questions I saw as I was looking through them. There might be some more in chat for you there here in a little bit.
I'm still going to be around.
Thanks again. Great job for that. And I can't wait to go try it out myself tonight. That's awesome. Super. Come back and join us again sometime, Renee. That was really nice. Our next presenter today is Heidi Jordan. And Heidi, I understand this was her very first Power App that she ever put into production. So that is really cool that she's able to share this with us. And this is a real world process I've seen many times and help people enable various technologies before. So I can't wait to see how you've done this with the Power Platform. So Heidi, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm going to try this PowerPoint Live thing here. So, all right. So about me, my name's Heidi Jordan. I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and I am a SharePoint consultant. Simply put, I am a SharePoint girl living in a Power Platform world, like the band Journey. would say. I'm an aspiring speaker and blogger. I've been a consumer of community content for years now. And, I've been to conferences, I read all the blogs, I do these community calls, and frankly, I'm sick of not producing. I want to get my message out there too and give back to this community who has really made a tremendous impact in my career. So that's what I'm here to do. Today, I am going to just do a demo about, again, the first Power App I ever put out there. So, but what I'm going to do is basically talk you through the problem with, annual policy reviews and such, and then I'm going to go in and just show you the actual Power App and some of the components that make it pretty cool. So, I work with a lot of financial institutions, and really this can be applied to really any line of business, but banks have regulations that mandate that you have a centrally accessible library of policies and procedures for your employees. Things like everything from severe weather, what happens in the instance of severe weather, to Reg Z. And to ensure that they remain compliant, they need to actually review these policies and procedures on a set basis, and then make sure that they're up to date. And so generally businesses will put them in like a file share. They'll, let's dump them in the all file share, and then everyone can get to them. And the problem with this is that, when it comes to review time, hopefully someone's keeping an Excel spreadsheet or something of review dates and maybe a link to the policy. Well, the problem with that is nothing's reminding them of these reviews coming up. Reviews are then sent out via email, like, hey, you need to review this document. And then they're manually reminding this person if they don't get it done. They also need to make sure that they're reviewing the most current version of the document. Maybe someone has saved it off somewhere and has been updating it on their desktop for months. And then also when all these reviews are done, they need to give the auditors like a report of what was reviewed when and dates and such. So really it's a incredibly manual process. So before I get into the actual Power Apps piece of it and the demo side, really the first step to, reining in this whole process is, let's take a look at using Power Apps as the solution. Is it the correct technology for the process? So first of all, sit down with the people who are actually doing this. The people that are in the trenches every day, the people that are running this review process. Stakeholders, you'll need stakeholder buy-in to do this, but the people that are doing this every day are the ones that are going to be maintaining and promoting your technology. Talk them through their current process, hear about, and remember to talk about the process, not the technology. Maybe they've just been doing this for years because that's how they learned from someone else how to make this review process happen. And then next, think about their ideal process. Have them describe their entire, their ideal state of how this should be handled. And then you can kind of parlay that into the Power Apps and the technology and pick out pieces that may work and then maybe come down from there. And then also, map out the process. And now my life is going to be a lot easier because of Renee's demo that I just saw, because I've been doing this in Visio manually. So I like to document out the process and really take the backwards approach. So, if you want to build a form to help you with your process, first you need to know what needs to be approved. What are you collecting from the users? So this is just a sample of a Visio that I created. It really helps them map out their actual process and then work backwards. So for example, the different colors are the different approvals that are happening throughout this whole process. So you can really break it up by different points in the process. You could restart it from a certain point in the process if something fails. And then you're just, again, really working backwards to see the things that are collected. And then that will tell you what needs to actually be on your form. Moving on to the actual demo piece. So I wanted to really set up the problem so that you can see how I parlay that into the solution with Power Apps. So I'm going to stop sharing my presentation now and jump over to my desktop. So setting this all up again, this is just a sample of what a policy library would look like in SharePoint. We've got all of our documents, we've got the set department approver, and then we've got some review dates and then some categorization of our documents. So this is a vast improvement from a file share, and an Excel document that has a bunch of dates listed. So just to set this whole thing up, even if there's no changes to these policies every year, we still need to log that a review happened. They still need to sign off that, yes, I reviewed this and this is good. So what I did is we created a policy revision request list. And I'll show you what, this is where we actually layer in the Power App piece, and we're using the Power App for the request form. So to get started, we are using yearly, we're reviewing the annual policies, and then also, sometimes there's new ones that go in throughout the year, and they also have to run this through the policies that are edited. So everything follows the same approval process. So I wanted to make sure the Power App accommodated for all of those processes, and we really train the users on just one solution. So for example, we take a look at the policy revision request form here. Rather than using like a drop-down for choice, I chose to use buttons to signify that this is a new request. So if I click that, it's going to bring up my new request form. And if you're requesting to revise policy, that'll bring up the revision. One little thing is that, with the buttons, you can actually change it so that they'll stay a different color when they've been pressed. I noticed that was one thing that it didn't stay the certain color, so I didn't know if I was looking at the new or the revised request form. So that's one little design tip. And then also include instructions on your form. Make it easy for the users. If they log in and they see a form that just says new or revise, they're probably not going to know what to do with that. So put some context on your form. It's very easy to add the text and the labels to describe a little bit to the user about what you need from them. Second piece that I wanted to show is the form filtering. So the process here is, so I'm going to make a revision to my policy and I'm going to attach it in my form. Well, I want to present the user with an option of which policy do you want to edit. And instead of giving them that whole big slew of policies you saw out here, pick from this giant list of policies, I want to bring in a little bit of filtering. So right here I have the department dropdown, and this is pulling from that policy library the departments that are available. So if I want all my deposit ops policies, and then I have that subcategorization there too, I only want things that relate to overdraft, and then that populates this dropdown to only show me the things that are relevant to that department and category. The other thing that you may notice is happening when I select a department, this text over here that says the current department is Heidi Jordan. So if I change this to digital banking, general, it's going to say this is not Heidi Jordan. So I'm using a SharePoint list in the backside here. Flip over here. And I have a list of my different departments and then who the approver is. So this is a really easy way to keep your approvers in SharePoint. And then if there's someone's out on leave for a couple months or something, you can just come out here and the users can really change that whole flow by, because it's pulling from something that's centrally located in SharePoint. The next thing I wanted to show is the attachments. So this form includes an attachment control. So basically, a user will go out, they'll download their approved policy, make their edits, and then they can attach it to this form when they're ready to submit it for review. So I'm just going to go out here and do this. And I am going to edit this how to set up bill pay. So I'm going to attach my edited version. So one thing you'll notice too with users is, they'll download their document, their policy, make the edits, and then they'll save it. Like this is V2. This is the final one. No, this is really the one. You'll notice those files out there that have about 6 versions. So I wanted to accommodate for that in this process. So if I do this and I submit, what this is going to do is this is going to put this in a library called In Review, but it's actually going to grab the name from the policy library and rename that file in the In Review, because I did not want things like this showing up in my policy library with all the garbage on the end. So I'm going to submit that. And then I'll show you real quick. I have a Power Automate. I don't have time to show it, but I have a Power Automate in the background running to grab that and put it in this library. So you'll see that came in as how to set up bill pay, even though the attachment was V1 final, all that garbage on the end. One other thing that I wanted to show in here, so we'll open up the actual Power App. The one quick thing going back to the flow is you can build, to trigger that flow, you can build that right in Power Automate now, which is awesome. If you go to, I think it's Action, and then you hit Power Automate here, and you can click Add Flow, you can actually create your new flow and build that whole trigger process right from within Power Apps. I think that was mentioned on maybe a call last time, but this has made my life a lot easier to trigger some things that you want to happen once your form is submitted. But going back to the form design, so I like to use components. Components are like reusable pieces that you can use throughout your app. So for example, if you have a multi-screen app and you want to have a header on each page, you can build a component. So I've got this here. I also like to bring in like the current user's photo and then their name, just to give a nice little welcome on the splash screen there. So you can add all those things in. I am just doing the image here and then defaulting it to the current user. And then the text here is the user full name. Then once you get to your screen, you can just do insert, and then under custom, there's the component here. And then that will add that to the top of your screen. The other thing is the submit button. So I did there's a property or called valid, form valid. I don't want users to submit this form with any of fields that are, leave anything out, basically fill out all the required fields. So, but I also don't like it when you fill out a whole field or a form and you click submit and it just doesn't do anything. I wanted them to know that something is missing. So when all the required fields are filled out, I turn this button green. So if you notice that all the fields are filled out here, if I put just a value in here, the button turned green. So if I delete that, it's red again. So then they know there's something missing. And again, that was on the actual fill of the button. There's this form valid property. So just to wrap it up a little bit, I know I'm running out of time. With Power Apps and you're building your forms, don't take anything for granted. For example, that whole button press thing, like when I click the button, I want it to stay a color. Like that didn't happen out of the box, but I guarantee there's probably something in here in one of these properties that can help you with that. So don't take anything for granted, but know that there's probably a way you can do it. And along those lines, don't reinvent the wheel when you're building your forms. There are so many resources out there, the community calls, blogs, videos, all sorts of things out there to help you build out this form. And I like to focus on one piece of the form. Like when I originally started this whole thing, I started with that attachments. I said, okay, I want to build a form that they can submit something and then take that attachment and move it to SharePoint. And then I just built my form from there. And then lastly, just when you're building forms in general in Power Apps, just really do everything you can to simplify the experience. I like the auto-populate the submitter name, the date, put the context on the form, bring in their name, make it feel a little bit, so they have a good user experience with a form that's really going to drive your user adoption. So that is all I have for today. Any questions?
There are some questions for you inside of the chat.
Sure. I haven't been keeping up with that. Sorry.
That's okay. I know it's very hard to when you're presenting.
Yes.
If you want to take a look at those while Amber's doing her presentation, that would be wonderful. Lots of folks, though, really are big fans of the color treatment you did with your buttons and that pattern there. And
sure.
I think it's awesome how you started out and said the community helped you so much that you wanted to come back and pay it back a little bit. So thank you for doing that. That's really cool.
Yep, for sure.
Very nice. That brings us over to Amber today to finish up our community call for the afternoon. And so, Amber, you've got a kind of like a top secret chat channel in the background you can create very easily. When I saw that that's what you were going to show how to do, having done that myself before, and I know that you have to do it manually and it takes a long time. And what if you screwed up and put the wrong person in there by accident? That could be not good. So I'm really looking forward to how you built this solution here.
Awesome. Let me share my screen here.
Got it.
All right. So if you give me 10 minutes today, I think I can show you something that is pretty useful to the majority of folks here. So a quick introduction here. My name is Amber Weiss. I am a Power Platform Global Black Belt at Microsoft, which is just a fancy way to say that I'm here to help customers adopt the Power Platform, kind of remove those technical blockers. So I am on our technical specialist team, so I focus on the true technical side of the Power Platform. I'm based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've been with Microsoft for about 4 years. So I want to first talk about a moment that I had with my teammate. We were chatting in our Global Black Belt group chat, and somebody said, how do you always create those back channel, like those chats that you have? You know, you're in a customer call and you're also like with the Microsoft folks and you want to pull your team aside to ask them a question. How do you create those, you know, what's the app that you use? And our team's like, yeah, we do that manually. And so when you're a team full of Power App nerds, somebody's going to say, oh, okay, I'll go build that, right? I wish there was an app for that. And so I think that this was a great, you know, real use case for me to be able to take, you know, a moment where I had I wish there was an app for that moment and turn it into something that actually has really grown to be an awesome app within Microsoft that a lot of folks are using. So if you've ever had that moment where you want to, like, you know, ask your teammates, hey, pull off to the side. How am I doing on time? Is my pitch landing? Hey, who wants to take that last item as a follow-up, right? These are the things you maybe want to start that side group chat to say, is everyone fully aligned on what's happening here? So does this resonate with anybody? Like maybe thumbs up, give me a thumbs up reaction. If anybody has ever had this experience where you're in a chat and you want to pull some people aside, right? And so what I did here is I created this app. I called it Quick Chat. And what it is it's a Power App that I surface in Teams that allows you to take the meetings on your Office 365 Outlook calendar and then specify, you know, being able to click on that item and being able to pull everybody internal to your organization who is on that meeting in a chat and start a group chat using those individuals. So as you can see here, this is the user interface, and I'll actually show you a demo of this. But what it does is a Power Automate workflow is kicked off that then looks at your domain, right? That @Microsoft.com part of your email, and then says, who's everybody who's on this call that is also a part of that same domain. For me, @Microsoft.com. So it filters through all of that and then actually creates a group chat and then sends, you know, names the group chat according to the actual invite, and then sends that first message saying, hey, Amber Weiss has created this group chat using Power Automate, shameless plug for the Power Platform always. But that's how the whole process works. And it took me 2 hours to build this. And I think that's, you know, the beauty of the Power Platform is that quick time to value. 2 hours. And I say, guys, how does this look? Looks great. And they're like, cool, you should add this feature and that feature, right? And I think that probably resonates with all of us here is that the Power Platform, you know, allows you to build things fast and really prove out value for a use case. And so this is a screenshot here of that last message that comes out and says, hey, you know, welcome, Amber started this chat. Another thing I added to this is a way for an app to have organic growth. So I know that, you know, there's kind of like the shame on you if you use the share with everyone option when you're sharing out a Power App, right? Like not really best practice. Does everyone truly need it? But there's sometimes where you're saying, well, I want this to be able to grow organically. And so what I did in my app is I created this ability to share the app with a friend. And all a user has to do is input their, you know, internal friends Microsoft email in there, and then I actually take it, put it in a SharePoint list, and then pick it up from there. And then what it does is it adds the user to the backend group that manages access to the app. And then whenever somebody is added to that group, it also sends them an email saying, hey, you've been added to this quick chat group. Here's what this app's all about. Here's how to pin it in Teams. All of those really awesome features. So that was kind of a side piece that I added on and continue to add on as I'm seeing, you know, new requests come in about this application. So let me give you a quick peek at this app. So what I do here is I actually have it pinned on the rail in Teams. This is a demo environment, but make it really easy for if I'm in a meeting to be able to come in here and say, hey, I'm in this meeting right now. Who's a part of that? Let's show the attendees. Okay, these are the people that would be added to the chat with me. And what I can do is I can choose to add optional attendees as well. Otherwise, I can just start that internal chat. And then what you'll see is the workflow will run, and then it'll add those folks into the chat, rename the chat for me, and then send that initial message. So in a moment here, we'll see that group chat being created. And there we see it. And it says internal and then sync on project, the name of our specific meeting, and then says that I've created this chat. And then we can go in and start typing away and talking with each other. So, you know, it's a cool app. We've all created really awesome apps, and I think this is a really great app that a lot of folks have been using within Microsoft. But I think one of the cooler, like bigger pictures here is the, you know, Power Platform plus Microsoft Teams story. So being able to enhance and augment really that Teams as a platform by using Power Platform. I think that being able to meet the users where they are is really important. A lot of us spend the majority of our day in Teams. And so being able to have that app pinned right on the left side rail is is really helpful and easy to access for folks. And also, a shameless plug here is like, imagine if we could drive Power Platform interest through Teams, right? It takes that one message when you're in a big chat, and then all of a sudden that message comes through saying, Amber created this group chat via Power Automate, and everyone's like, wait a second, I want that, right? And so what if we could get to that point where the Teams usage and Power Platform usage was the same, right? That's like the dream goal here, is to make everybody who's in Teams using Power Platform. And I think this is a great way to do it. It gives you hands-on example of how to make this happen, how to use the platform. And actually, a lot of our sales folks, they'd say, I pitch Power Platform all day, but I don't have an app that I use day in, day out that I can actually like connect with the customer and say, hey, this is how I use Power Platform every day. And this is kind of been on their tool belt now, is they'll say, hey, you want to see something I use every day? So it's kind of empowered a lot of folks in our organization to be able to create these chats, and then also being able to just talk about the power of Power Platform plus Teams. And honestly, I'll also add plus Azure, because I have App Insights tied into this as well. So I'll put in the chat some reference materials for a LinkedIn article, blog that I wrote, and also where to grab it on GitHub. Feel free to take it, modify it, run with it. Let me know if you have any ideas. This was just, again, born out of having that, I wish there was an app for that moment. And, it kind of has turned into something that a lot of folks have drawn a really interest to. So with that, that is all I have for you today. So I'll see if there's any questions.
Amber, there was one question that popped up, and I think people said after you add the internal attendees, can you take them out? I thought I saw that capability in there in your app.
Yeah, so you could take folks out of the meeting, or if you're like, oh, hey, and also I do want to add this additional person, you could do that.
Okay.
I don't want this to be like a secret app where we have like a secret meeting. It's more about being able to, quickly do things that you do anyway and manually, and having those moments on the side to say, hey, did somebody catch that last follow-up item? Like, how do we, so being it more of empowering the end users, rather than, creating little secret side chats. But yeah, it's really you can easily add and remove people. You can, add and continue it as like a persistent chat, because it doesn't go away after the meeting.
That's awesome. I can totally see how this could hook into that meeting capture app. That's one of the sample templates. That would be a nice fit. One more question for you. I love the solution you did to help organically grow it by letting people spread the word through the app. Is that a component by any chance?
It's not, but it definitely should be.
I would love to snap that component into lots of different apps. That would be cool.
Yeah, I say that my goal for this next fiscal year is to be more, I create these awesome things and I forget to package them and put them out there. And
I
so
know
I'm
how
going
it goes.
be more intentional about doing that. So I'll definitely put that on my list. It's a great point.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I see people asking in chat, when is the app available? Or we'll get Heidi's about to drop these links into the chat for you so you can download it and try it out. That's awesome. And
yeah, I'll put the chat. I'll put the links in the chat so that you all can grab it from GitHub.
Thanks a ton, Amber.
Thank you,
That's
everyone.
Awesome. I'm going to be downloading it this afternoon too.
Cool.
I always have a busy day after these community calls to try out all these new things I see. Very fun. Super. Well, I'm going to kick it back to David now here today, and he's going to be wrapping up the end of our call.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. We definitely want to thank every one of our attendees and our presenters today. A big round of applause for everybody. Renee, Heidi, Amber, thank you so much for presenting today. Excellent work. Those demos are fantastic. We look forward to bringing even more demos from the community in the next month's call. Some of the resources that are available to you. You can utilize any of these URLs for training and community samples, community videos, learning samples, and to learn more about how you can interact with the Power Platform. These are a collection of the community calls that are available to us in our fantastic community. The platform call is a call that is by Microsoft, and that is going to always have Microsoft presenters. So if you're looking to get it straight from the horse's mouth, you can always connect directly to that. There you go. You have the adaptive cards, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office add-ins, and of course, this is the Power Platform call monthly, and we've got our Microsoft 365 and Power Platform development bi-weekly calls hosted by the PNP team or the Microsoft 365 platform team community, and the VV Connections and SharePoint Framework. Those are 2 bi-weekly calls. You can learn all about them all at aka.ms/m365-calls. The recording for this call will be available within 24 hours on the PNP YouTube video channel. You might see it available to download if you're not in the Microsoft tenant or if you're not in Microsoft, you won't be able to do it. So don't worry, it will be processed and uploaded. You can always subscribe to that YouTube channel within the Microsoft 365 community YouTube channel. Follow on Twitter, Microsoft @Microsoft365Dev, @Microsoft365PNP. Our next call is June 2022, 1 month from today. So we look forward to seeing everyone there. You can get the recurrent download at aka.ms/Power Platform Community Call. Just want to thank everybody. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and enjoy the weekend. Thank you, everyone.